Okay, let's take a deep dive into the material you've shared with us today.
Sounds good.
We're focusing on a specific 2017 article, right? It's titled 10 Poorest Countries in the World.
That's the one. Yeah, this deep dive is really about unpacking what this particular source says. It drew its data from the CIA World Factbook,
Okay.
and it tells us about, global economies at the lower end of the scale,
Yeah.
specifically back in 2017.
Right, and the main way it measures this, the key metric, is GDP, gross domestic product.
hmm
And the source explains they're using GDP per person here to get a kind of sense of the average buying power within these countries.
Exactly. Buying power and also looking at the total value of goods and services produced.
Gotcha. So our goal here, for you listening, is to navigate this list.
Yeah, quickly and thoroughly.
Understand the scale of these numbers and what this 2017 data snapshot reveals, according to this specific source anyway.
Definitely. And to really sort of set the stage to understand the magnitude of the figures we're about to see.
Yeah.
The article gives a really key comparison point.
Ah, the U.S. comparison.
Right. In 2017, the source says the U.S. had a GDP of $57,000.
57,000.
Oh.
And ranked 18th globally on the full list. Okay.
Exactly. So $57,000 compared to, well, you'll see it when we get into the list.
Yeah.
That comparison is it's crucial context, isn't it, for the scale of the economic realities this source is presenting.
Absolutely puts it in perspective. Now, one thing the source points out right away is a geographic pattern. Pretty striking.
What's that?
With one single exception, all the countries on this 2017 list are located in Africa.
Ah, right. Okay. All but one.
And we'll make sure to call out that exception when we get there.
Good idea. So should we count down the list as it's presented in this 2017 source?
Yeah, let's do it. Starting from number 10, working our way down to number 1.
Okay. Number 10.
All right, at number 10, the article puts Guinea, GDP listed as $1,300.
1,300. Okay. Moving to number 9, we see Mozambique,
Mozambique, and their GDP.
listed at $1,200. So just a $100 difference from Guinea, which the source notes, starts to show how close these numbers are, at least at the top end of this particular list.
Right, okay, number 8.
That's Niger, listed with a GDP of $1,100.
Ah, so you can see that steady decline continuing. Another $100 dip there.
Yeah, another 100. And then tied with Niger at $1,100.
Tied. Who's that?
The source lists Malawi at number 7. Same figure, $1,100.
Okay, so Niger and Malawi both at $1,100. Then number 6?
Still at $1,100.
Still. Okay.
And here's our exception to that geographic pattern. Number 6 is Tokelau.
Tokelau, that's the one.
Yeah, the source specifies it's part of the atolls in the South Pacific.
Wow, so not Africa.
Not Africa. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? That this outlier appears right in the middle of a list dominated by African nations, just based on this 2017 data.
Definitely stands out. Okay, so after those 3 tied at $1,100, where do we go for number 5?
Well, the numbers start to drop a bit more significantly now. At number 5, we find Liberia. Their GDP is listed as $900.
900. So first one under 1,000 on this list.
Right. Then down to $800 at number 4, according to this 2017 source. That's the Democratic Republic of Congo.
DRC, $800.
And sharing that same GDP figure of $800 at number 3 is Burundi.
Ah, another tie. $800 for both DRC and Burundi.
Exactly. And the source actually gives a bit of a hint here about the bottom spot.
Oh, yeah.
It notes that Burundi's $800 GDP, it's actually double the GDP of the country, ranked number 1.
Double. Wow. Okay, that really signals how low number 1 must be. So building towards that. Number 2.
Number 2 is the Central African Republic.
CR.
Okay, and their GDP.
Listed as $700.
700. So not a huge drop from $800, but I mean, clearly shows how incredibly constrained things are at this end.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the very bottom of this 2017 list. Number 1.
And that is?
Somalia. The source describes its GDP as astoundingly small.
Astoundingly small. What's the figure?
Just $400.
$400? Wow. I mean, astoundingly small feels like an understatement, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you think back to that $57,000 figure for the U.S. we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. But even comparing within this list, Central African Republic at $700.
Yeah.
And then Somalia down at $400.
And that comment you mentioned from the source about Burundi's $800 being double Somalia's $400.
Right. It really just underscores the extreme financial constraints at the very, very bottom of this particular list in 2017.
Yeah. I mean, if GDP is trying to capture buying power and economic value, $400 a year per person represents a truly, truly stark challenge.
No question.
So, okay, let's step back from the list itself for a second. What are the core takeaways this source presents? What does it want us to understand?
Well, first, it gives us this clear list, doesn't it? 10 countries, ranked by their 2017 GDP per capita, drawing specifically on CIA data from that time.
And it uses that GDP figure, as we said, to represent average buying power and the value of finished goods.
Right, and it provides that comparison point, like the U.S. figure, to really illustrate the vast economic difference we're talking about.
Yeah. And importantly, I think, the article doesn't just list numbers and leave it there.
No, it doesn't.
It includes quite a powerful statement, actually. It says that while populations in these countries have learned to make the best of their financial status, the source believes there is no reason they should have to suffer.
Yeah. That's a significant addition. It definitely highlights the human element behind the statistics.
Right.
And it really points towards the article's purpose, I think, why they compiled the list.
Exactly. The source is pretty explicit about it. It says this list was created to inform you, the reader, or in our case, you, the listener, so you can take some action that could help these countries. And it hopes it sparks further interest.
So it's framed almost as a catalyst for awareness, maybe for action.
Seems like it. It frames this data not just as, like, a dry report, but as information with potential implications, for global understanding, maybe engagement.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Absolutely. And, well, building on that idea, the source's intention to inform and maybe spark action. Given these 2017 figures we've just run through, and the article's own point about suffering and this sort of call to engagement, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, what kind of questions does it raise?
Exactly. What questions does diving into this data raise for you about, I don't know, global economics or the immense challenges faced by populations in countries with such incredibly low reported GDPs?
Definitely something to mull over after hearing these numbers.
Yeah, something to keep thinking about.